So hi, one of the Good Noise Podcast with Alex from Dogleg. We're gonna ask him some questions today. I'm gonna start. So, what inspired the creation of the band, and what does the band name mean?
So the band kind of came from the fallout of some other bands that I was in. I was in a band in high school, and it was kind of going in a completely different direction than I was imagining. Like I was leaning in a more like punk, like emo inflected direction, and the other member, my partner at the time, was kind of leaning in a more like folk, like singer songwriter direction.
Hmm.
And it was an interesting dynamic. Like at the beginning, it sounded like Black Keys, White Stripes meets a crazy punk drummer because I was playing drums at the time, and I was just like, let's make everything like fast and energetic and fun. And it was cool, but like in the end, I was trying to write songs and it just wasn't fitting. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write these songs for myself, and I'm just gonna put them together myself and do all the instruments and everything. And then that was in between when I graduated high school and started going to college. So when I went into college, I just threw the EP, the first Dogleg EP, up online and like didn't expect anything from it. I was just like, all right, like I made these songs, and these were just kind of ideas that I imagined in the basement of my parents' house before I left, and that's that. Nothing special about it. Just learned how to mix them. Didn't really have like the most professional stuff. Like everything was recorded with like two microphones. It's
Nice.
in a bunch of like just used stuff, so it's
Mhm.
not nothing professional about it. Just like completely just kind of cobbled together just to make something and just put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's sick. All right. Uh,
Yeah.
so congrats on your newest release, Mealy. How do you feel the response to it so far?
I'm I'm like in in complete disbelief most of the time.
Oh,
I'm just like, holy crap! Like I would have never imagined anything that could have amounted to this. Like how many people have been so receptive to it and so interested in it, and I'm so glad that they are. And it was just completely unexpected, but we worked our asses off to try and get to where we are. So I'm glad that it's paying off.
mhm.
yeah.
But I never would have thought that like all the critics seem to be loving it, and I'm like, I never would have even like considered critics would even give this the time of day. Like I we got so many like no's from labels, like
Mhm.
like no responses, and we were just like, like we would be even lucky to have somebody just feel compelled to put it out just out of the kindness of their heart, just because they like the music so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just everything that we have gotten has just been we're extremely grateful for. It's just a huge amount of luck and a huge amount of just work that's luckily have been seen. So
Yeah.
we're very, very happy for it and very grateful for it, and we don't take any of that for granted. But it's like interesting to see how it's all online.
Mhm.
Like
Hmm.
I can't see a bunch of fans like screaming back the lyrics at us or anything like that because we can't play shows. So it's
Yeah.
it's a interesting feeling when you're like when all of your friends are like, wow, like you're getting around, you're so famous, all these people are hearing of you. And I'm like, yeah, I see it on Twitter. Like I don't see like I
Yeah.
don't like I don't see it in person. It's
Yeah.
just it's a very strange disconnect.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it, like, I know friends bands that have done it that way, where it's like they got tons of online reception from all over the world, but in person it's like it's totally different. They don't receive that, and we always have gotten the opposite, where it's like we catch people because of the way we play and how intensely we play things live. So people that would never hear of us in person would just suddenly be like, holy crap, like who was that, and be
Yeah.
interesting that way. And now it's like total 180, where it's like, oh, now we're catching all these people online
Yeah.
instead of in person. So it's a very interesting difference from how we used to operate things.
Definitely. Oh yeah. But
Adapting for the times, though.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Okay, so before it would be me writing everything, and the second EP we did, we were kind of all working together, just kind of throwing the songs out as they came. So for the album, we were like, let's take our time and let's really try and hammer out every single like aspect of each song, like how it's going to start, how it's going to end, what the progression of the dynamics of each song is going to be, how we're going to like layer each song, how we're going to like organize the album to like which song will come first and how it's going to flow into the next one, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a ton of time just trying to make that as finely tuned as possible, and I think it paid off like crazy because we really went in on not only the songwriting stuff that I just mentioned, but also like recording it and everything. We just took a ton of time trying to get everything to sound exactly the way we wanted it to. We went through, believe it or not, 3 different people to try and mix this album because
wow.
it was because of just like the process of like, well, the first person that we went through, we didn't really like it, and we kind of had to go through another person who's a friend of ours, and then we thought it was done, and then Triple Crown picked us up, and we were like, and they were like, we need to go through another mixer, so we're like, okay, we have to start the process over again. So we had a lot of time to really sit on everything and really make sure that it was exactly the way we wanted it, and we're all really happy about it. I think these songs are definitely the most mature that we've made thus far, and I'm really excited to see what we can do next, because in that process, like after the album came out and everything like that, we added another member, Jacob, our drummer, and our former drummer Parker moved to guitar. So now we have even more things to expand upon.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see where it goes from there, because there's more coming. There's more in the future, and just having 2 guitars instead of 1 is going to be such an interesting thing, and I think it's going to definitely be a interesting and beneficial thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Wait, so was each process, because you said you work with 3 different people, were they like drastically different from each other?
Yes. So the first person we worked with was his name is Maurizio Borgna. He's from Italy. He produced Crash of Rhinos' first album, Distal, which is all of our collective favorite album of all time in terms of like production and like sound quality. So we were like, we want to go with him because he's definitely going to get us the sound that we want. Yeah. We sent it to him, and he was kind enough to work with us on an extremely tight budget, much tighter than he normally works. And so when he sent it back to us, it was kind of a rush job. So we listened back and we were like, yeah, there's way too many changes that will need to be made, and there's only 2 revisions that he's going to give us with the money that we have. So we were like, thank you so much, but we really can't continue working with you because we honestly don't have enough money to do it. So we moved on to our friend Tyler Floyd, who produced the Eureka sessions that we did that are on YouTube, our little live sessions that we played. And he's a phenomenal engineer. He helped us before we even contacted him to do the mixing. He helped me record the guitars, and it was an awesome experience because he has just so much wisdom and knowledge when it comes to sound production. So it was kind of a no-brainer to just jump to him. He sent us a test mix, and it sounded fantastic, exactly the way we wanted it to. So that was extremely hands-on and extremely collaborative. And by the time we were done, we had a really, really, really good album that we were very proud of. And we were like, all right, yes. And we were like, this is probably ready to be sent out and ready to be finished. And then we got the offer from Triple Crown, and we were like, all right, yeah. So we have the album ready and we're ready to go. And they're like, all right, hold up. We want you to remix it with one of our guys because we want to make sure it is studio quality, because this sounds like a very good album for DIY quality, but we want to make sure it can compare to other albums that we've put out before. And we're like, okay, that's fine. That's cool with us. So we went with Brett Romney's, who did the most recent Oso Oso record and the most recent Free Throw record. And we were kind of a little hesitant because we were like, this person leans pretty heavy pop punk, and we want to kind of distance ourselves from a pop punk label, because I don't think that, because personally I've never considered us pop punk. I don't really associate us with that sound. We're more raw, and we're kind of have more of an edge to it. So
Yeah.
with his more like pop punk leanings and our like extremely edgy like stylings, we kind of reached a nice middle ground where everything sounds like very raw and in your face, but still has the accessibility of a like pop punk record. So we're like, yes, like this sounds great. It was definitely a nice like touch up from where we were to start with the Tyler version of the record. So in the end, it all worked out really nicely. It took a really, really long time though.
Yeah.
but in the end, it was great. It was we are fortunate to have gone through so many revisions, but honestly, I wouldn't do it again. I would definitely want to just like pick one person and be like, all right, this is who we're going with, and this is who we're working with, and that's that, you know?
Yeah.
But the time that we spent on it, I think, was definitely worth it to get the first album right, because that is like a huge thing to get that first impression correct.
Definitely. All right. Wow. Sick. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So can you tell me where your headspace was while creating that record then?
Oh man. So I don't know. It was very full of like anguish, I guess you could say. Like I've heard that it's like a very angry record, and I can definitely agree with that, just because of like the environment that I was in was just very like toxic, I guess you could say. Like I had a lot of like family struggles, and I had a lot of like just personal struggles that I was dealing with like anxiety and depression, and like trying to get a handle on that. And a lot of the times my lyrics don't really make that entirely clear, and I feel like that's kind of a thing that's on purpose, because it's like, you know, anxiety and depression is not really a thing that is super clear cut and super obvious to anybody. So I wanted to make that very apparent, where it's like, you know what, like these words may not make any sense, and those words just may be a jumble of emotions, but that's exactly how it feels, you know? That's exactly what we're trying to capture, is that like you may be saying something really, really loudly, and you may not know what it is, but you're getting something out of you. And so that's kind of where I was when I was like trying to make these songs, especially with like a couple of songs where the words are almost complete nonsense, where it's like the song Wrist actually started with a demo track where the lyrics were just like absolute complete ad-libbed like jumbled nonsense, not even entirely like English words, just like sounds and phrases and vowels. And I was just like, all right, like I got it out of me, and I got it out of me as angrily as possible. And then I listened back, and I was like, okay, let's see what words we can kind of form from what I was trying to formulate with this recording. And then it came up into like this really crazy, interesting, like set of lyrics that I was like, oh, you know, like it kind of makes sense in a weird way. So it was definitely an interesting process, but it was like full of that, like just angry, angsty kind of feeling. And it was just kind of a process of like getting it out and just having fun with it in a weird way. You know, it's like I never really had a chance to enjoy having anxiety and depression in a way like making this record, if that kind of makes sense, where it's like, you know, put it into a positive thing and put it into a positive process.
Wait. So you said that basically you get your lyrics sometimes from just like screaming out random things. Is that how it's always been, or just for this record?
For the most part, yeah, it's kind of just been a little bit ad-libbed. Most of the time, well, actually pretty much all of the time, except for maybe like Star 67 on the last EP that we did, all of the song comes first before the words. Like the words always come last, and then we try and figure out, okay, here's how a melody could probably go over this, and here's what words could maybe fit here. But I don't really like to come forward with like a pre-written, like here's everything written out and it's all done. It's more just like, all right, I have a phrase and it might sound cool if we say it this way, and we say it right here in the song. What can go before it? What can go after it? Let's play the song a billion times, and I'm going to sing a bunch of times, and I'm going to see, all right, what sticks, what flows, and what makes sense. And then we'll record it on a demo tape, and I'll listen back to it another million times, and then see, all right, let's like write it out, and let's see from there, how can we make the lyrical structure fit?
Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my
Thank
god.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
So what band or artist influences do you think you can hear the most on this record?
Bear vs. Shark by a million miles. They're
Okay.
one of my favorite bands of all time. They're from Michigan. They combine punk sensibilities and tenderness in this very interesting way that I think no other band can really match. They just know how to like toe this line of dynamics that is just very, very, very hard for most bands to get. And I feel like even in our case, it's kind of hard for us to toe these dynamic lines, because we kind of lean more of just like being like just kind of macho, angry in your face all the time. And hopefully on the next record, we're going to kind of lean more into like, all right, how can we like slow it down? How can we not necessarily slow it down, but like tone it down and then build it back up again, you know, like make it very roller coaster instead of just always attacking. And another band I would say is Crash of Rhinos, obviously, because we've definitely tried to model at least the production of the record behind their first record, because I just love that like earthy sounding tone of the album, where you can just really hear like the space of the room and everything, and you can almost hear like them picking like the individual notes of the guitar, and like you're sitting like right next to them. And then when they get really loud and they get really brash, you can just like feel the energy of the room as well. And I really wanted to capture that with the record, and I feel like we did with just like the sheer sound of the drums. I'm really glad of how we recorded those drums so big and so bombastic, and I'm glad we could do that. And I think another band would be Trail of Dead. I really, really love Trail of Dead, and I really love the way that they tie really emotional songwriting with emotional performance. And I mean that in the terms of like they play things hard, but they also like play up things in a campy way, where they bring in like a huge stringed orchestra to accompany everything that they're doing, and it's like, wow, you know, I want to do that. And so we added some of our own strings and horns on some tracks, just kind of buried a little bit so we can still get the intensity.
Yeah. Wow. All right. That's so cool. All right.
Thank you.
So what made you choose the name for this record, and is there any meaning behind the cover art?
Melee was because Chase is obviously very, very good at Super Smash Bros. Melee. He has for years challenged people in the crowd and fans and anybody who comes up to our merch table. He would challenge them to a game of Melee, and if they would win, he would buy them our merch, or he'd literally buy them anybody's merch that is at the table, like even other bands.
Oh my god.
He's never been beaten, and I think it's been like 3 years now or 4 years, and he's really, really, really good. He's like 18th in the state of Michigan. And he runs tournaments and everything. So his mentality is like, you know, I will know the person if they are going to beat me before they come. Like if it's just a random person, they're not going to win. That's just the way it is. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And we've played other bands too. We've played Foxing twice and smoked them, every single one of them, to a point where they had to actually like, there was a bet where it's like, if we won, you have to tweet that we're better than you at Melee. And they did that twice. And who else did we play? I think we played Oso Oso while we were on tour, but that was more like a friendly game because like they're not like a competitive Smash players or anything like that. Kind of like, honestly, I'm not really a competitive Smash player. I'm not that good at fighting games. So I let Chase handle all of that. But he's extremely good. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Oh my god. And the cover art.
The cover art. So actually I'm sitting in my room and I have a copy of the cover art just sitting.
Oh my god.
Yeah. My aunt gave it to me for Christmas. Honestly, I've never really understood the context of her art. I just thought it was an interesting and very minimalist piece. But the more I sat with it, and the more I like asked her, like, okay, like what do you think this is about? It was like about like the balance of like nature and nurture, and it's like the balance of like mankind and animals, if that kind of makes sense. It's like a weird like like juxtaposition because you got the dog and then you got like a man-made chair, but they're both existing in kind of the same space, and then you have the wood on the top to kind of connect the both. And I've always thought, well, it's like, wood is kind of existing in both like a man-made space and like an animalistic space because it grows in nature naturally as a tree, but we also use it to make a ton of stuff as humans. So it's like you're kind of like connecting and like it's making like a little bit of a bridge, even though it's kind of hovering both of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like in connection to the album, the art just kind of signifies, well, it's like we all have like these emotions. Like every single person on planet Earth has emotions inside of them of like anger and hate and sadness and love and everything. And it just like animals, just like everything else. And it's like it's hard to hide them, and it's much more fun, in my opinion, to kind of let them out in like a cathartic and easy way. And I feel like animals kind of do that like just on their own, like they kind of just work entirely on like primal emotions. And I think that like this album is very primal in that way, where it's like it's just harnessing like just all of these thoughts and feelings, but not necessarily trying to make them more than what they are, not trying to make them super sophisticated to a point where it's like where it's hard to really connect with it, but trying to make it so it is like it is visceral and it is just grappling, and it just lets you understand exactly what is happening without knowing exactly what happened.
Man, that was really deep. I like that.
Thank
really
you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Before you go, Shane, I have to ask, have you guys ever thought of doing like a whole like DIY tournament?
We have thought about that, but the thing is like not a lot of people are good at Smash and
that's fair.
And that's not to be a diss, but like realistically, like not enough people like go to tournaments, not enough people like know the outlets of Smash. So actually our drummer Jacob was a part of a Pokemon tournament. Which they did online Pokemon games, and everybody knows Pokemon, so it's like, all right, like we can understand each other like that. But with Smash, it's a little bit harder to get into, and I know this especially because like my skill is like really low. So trying to play against players that are actually good, or not even like super good, but like mid-level, is just hard. It's like a hard barrier to entry because you're bad, and if you don't have the skills, it's just very difficult to actually get into and start enjoying, because it's like I'm not having fun. I'm getting my butt whooped. It's not engaging or fun.
That's fair. That's fair.
So what song on this record took the longest to write, and what is your personal favorite?
Ooh. The longest to write was Hotlines by a mile, because I could not for the life of me figure out how to sing along to it. It was very, very, very difficult. The original demo, actually had me not even doing my like usual like yelling, screaming version. The original demo had me singing like in a low octave, like freaking Ian Curtis. I was so confused. I was so not able to understand what the heck to do. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna go in the basement. I'm just gonna just try it. And this is after literal months of just trying to figure this out.
Oh wow.
And then I just bust out and I just try it. Try what the vocal line currently is, or like a primitive form of it. And I was like, all right, that's interesting, that's good. And then I show it to the band, and they're like, all right, we have at least like a good idea of it. And then we just kept working on it for a little bit longer, and then it just suddenly like started to stick. And I was just like, all right, finally we did it, we made it. and then from there we just I wrote down like some good lyrics to go along with it. And the thing that was kind of persisting through the demos and the current version is the chorus part. And I was like, all right, so at least we have that, you know?
Yeah.
So just the rest of it just kind of took a long time to figure out, like, all right, how do we puzzle this together?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite song, oh man, it's like picking a favorite kid. It's very hard. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can really pick a favorite song, just because it's like I love them all for such specific reasons. Like each one has its own place for me, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I just love it all, and I don't want to like separate them, you know. They exist together, you know.
Right. One big package.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's fair. So this one should go like super, super fast. Off the top of your head, as quick as you can, I want you to describe this record in 3 words.
In 3 words?
3 words.
Loud, fast, cry.
Oh! Okay, that's good. To a T. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Loud, fast, cry.
So, on the same topic, is there a certain feeling you want your listeners to have while listening to this album?
You know, no.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
Because I don't want to impose a feeling onto anybody of what you should or should not feel when you're listening to this record. And let me specify that. What I want is for people to go into it and to come out of it having a positive experience, you know? I don't want anybody to come into it and think like, oh, this is going to suck, this is bad, or come out of it thinking it sucks. Like, I don't want that. But in terms of like what you're going to feel and how you're going to feel it, I want that person to be taken on their own personal journey, because I know that's what happened to me when I listened to my own personal favorite records. Because like, I didn't know anything about these bands when I first listened to those records that really like gave me that much of an emotional impact. And I frankly didn't want to know about those bands because I was too invested in the actual experience of the songs and of how they were like affecting me. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want for other people to do, is just to sit down, listen to it with like an open mind, and then come out of it with whatever they feel. You know, if they felt like it was like the worst sonic experience that they could have ever had, all right, that's fine. At least you listened to it, you know, and at least it gave you some type of feeling. If they sat down and it made them cry the whole way through, that's great. You know, that's your experience with it. You know, I don't want to tell you that you have to cry at 3 minutes of Fox because I said so, you know.
Those are the rules.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I don't want any rules for this. This is just my own catharsis put onto a record, and you can take that as you want to take it, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's a positive way. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So you guys actually did an audio tree like session type thing. How did that happen? How'd that go?
So we did a audio tree staged where we played in front of a bunch of cameras at Lincoln Hall, and they've been doing this for a couple of other bands as kind of like a makeup for shows that have been lost. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because they they split the profits for us 50-50, which is extremely nice. It definitely helped us out a lot because like we're not making anything right now.
Yeah.
But also it was really cool to be involved with like Audio Tree. We actually were working on getting like a real session like set up around that time. And they were like, you know what, why don't you just do a staged instead? And we'll do a session later on some other time. So that's what we had planned is we were like, all right, we'll do the staged because we want to play live and we feel like that'll definitely be cool. And then we'll do a live session later, maybe like later in the year or next year. Who knows? So we have that like in the books. We don't have it official, but like it's official in the terms in the sense where it's like we talked and it's happening, but we just don't know when. But they've been interested in us like since we put out the record. They sent us an email. They were like, we want to do a session with you. Let us know when you want to do it. And then COVID hit, so we were like, all right, let's change gears. Maybe we can do a different thing with you.
Yeah.
So yeah. And Audio Tree's been moving to Michigan, like getting some more like infrastructure in Michigan. So it's really cool, and they really like to support Michigan artists. So they definitely had their eye on us for a little bit, which is really nice.
Yeah.
For sure. So I know you guys just released this album a couple months ago, but is there anything new in the works you can tell us about?
There is a couple things new in the works, but I don't know if I can tell you about right now. But I will say that we were in a studio, so that's all I can say.
Studio.
Right.
And
that typically means music. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
It sometimes means music, but yeah, we have that, and then we have a cool little thing that might be coming out sometime soon. But again, I can't say for certain. I can't say anything. But we do have things still going on. That's the thing.
Things are coming.
Yeah, things are coming. Do not worry. Even though we put out the record like 5 billion years ago, there's still things happening.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Still an active band, not dead yet.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Solid. So where do you see the band in the next 5 years?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Top of the world, baby. I don't know.
Go.
Taking over the world.
Yeah, taking over the world.
Honestly, I don't know. I really think we have a lot of places to go musically, and I think that I'm really excited to see where that can take us and what that would be able to do for us. Because like just seeing the reception of what we just did with our first record right now is really, really, really cool. And I don't want to lose that momentum. And honestly, like I'm kind of only thinking about like that right now. I'm not thinking about 5 years because like I don't know. Maybe all our fans will leave. Who knows? You know? No. Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking like, you know, what will the next record be like? Like where do I want to go? Where do we want to take this band in a way that still keeps the core of our intensity and our emotion filled playing, but like expand it to kind of new regions and not lose anybody's interest, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have people come and listen to us and be like, yeah, this band is fast, this band is sick, this band plays really hard, and then the next record disappoint them and be like, oh no, they're playing slow, they're doing that. It's like I don't think we're gonna do that, but I'm like, you know, how do we do that in an interesting way? How do we do that in a way that's still engaging? So in the next 5 years, I would like to have a record or maybe even 2 records that really show our depth and really show what we're capable of doing. Because I feel like we're off to a great start, and we definitely have a long ways to go in terms of like what we want to do musically.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
So for the last couple of questions, we're actually going to shift away from music and go straight to death row. So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with drink?
If I'm on death row, what would my last meal be and drink? Oh man. Does a milkshake count as a drink?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, then I will have a vanilla milkshake. And my last meal will be Endless soup, salad, and breadsticks from Olive Garden.
Oh my God.
So
Wait.
that I never die.
Wait. What's your soup choice though?
Oh God, Italian wedding soup.
Oh, I've never had that before.
It's
I
like
always get the gnocchi.
the Italian wedding soup is so good. It's like chicken stock with like meatballs and spinach and orzo noodles. Super yummy.
Oh my God, that sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's it. And it's unlimited, so you never
And it's
die.
unlimited, so I never run out.
Never get the chair.
I never get the chair.
It's a win-win. Amazing.
Still eating.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Oh shoot! If I could live in a fictional world for a week.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta think about this. Because there's so many. There's so many places I want to go. I don't know. When I was a kid, I always wanted to live in the Pokemon universe, but the specifically the Pokemon Ranger games. Have you ever played those for the DS, where you like circle the Pokemon?
No, I haven't.
I would play that outside with like old cell phone of my mom's because it had like an extendo antenna, and you had that in the game. And you're like, I was like, yeah, circle Pokemon. So just to fulfill that childlike fantasy, I would want to live in like that world where it's like Pokemon exists, and I got a cool friend, probably like a Growlithe because I love dog styled Pokemon. And then we'd just be best buds. It'd be so cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sick.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person we've spoken to has said this is the most important question.
Oh, sure.
Ever.
Okay. All right.
What is your favorite color?
It is blue, but honestly, I might lean it towards black because I like wearing black all the time.
As you should.
Okay.
So as I said, that is all the questions we have today. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
We just put out some new merch. Check it out. We're going to probably be putting out some more new merch December, some more winter stuff. That'll be cool. We're going to try and do more music-related stuff as it comes. Just keep an eye on it. We're definitely not dead. Thank you so much for listening. Also, if you've listened to the record, we're extremely grateful for everybody that's ever listened to it, ever reviewed it positively or negatively. Just thank you for sharing it around and everything. It means so much to us. We never would have imagined any of this would have happened, especially the bad stuff. I never would have imagined the bad stuff would happen either. But thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with us. This has
thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Of course, yeah.
This has been Alex from Dogleg, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.